Welcome to People First Builders, celebrating leaders in construction who build success through their people. My name is Fletcher Wimbush, your host. I'm the CEO of Discover.ai, a performance hiring software helping small and mid-sized AEC companies solve their hardest problem, people. We help people first leaders install and execute repeatable talent acquisition systems that drive business results by hiring top performers, lowering turnover, and building world-class company cultures. Stick around to the end and you can learn more about how to become a guest on our podcast and share your story with the world. Welcome to the People First Builders podcast. My name is Fletcher Wimbush and I'm your host. Today, I have Melissa Drew. She is the founder and CEO of InSite Build, a construction-focused company dedicated to improving project outcomes through better planning, communication, and execution in the building process. With a background rooted in construction and project delivery, Melissa has built her career around helping teams operate more efficiently and collaboratively. Through InSite Build, she works to bridge gaps between stakeholders and construction projects, ensuring alignment from early planning through execution. Her leadership emphasizes clarity, accountability, and strong team dynamics, key components in delivering successful projects in an industry often challenged by miscommunication and inefficiencies. Melissa brings a practical, solutions-oriented approach to construction, helping organizations streamline processes, improve overall performance. As a founder, she's focused on driving innovation within the construction space while maintaining a strong emphasis on people, communication, and execution. Well, it couldn't be a better fit for the theme of people first builders. And I think your bio really, nails like the inherent challenges of really any business, but in construction, right? Without people, nothing gets done. And then, us as people, we can be kind of inefficient working together sometimes, right?
Absolutely.
You're obviously really pulling that out. What I didn't get, just any kind of projects you guys are typically working on. Tell us about like your team, how long you've been around. I'm curious a little bit about that from just a contextual perspective, and then then I want to dig into and unpack what inspire. Why are you so focused on this inner, personal, this people dynamic, right? What led you to really focusing on that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, thanks for having me. I appreciate being on, and always love getting to share knowledge and some of the hardships and successes that we've had along the way. So, just leading off, InSite Build, we're into year 4 of our company, so still pretty new. We're a construction management firm based out of Maryland, and really focused in the commercial construction space with state government work. So institutional projects, higher education, in that lane is where we feel like our strengths are really suited. The more complex, the better. I think we like really digging into challenges of the large jobs and kind of bringing teams together to go solve problems, have efficient workflows, things like that on the complex projects. So
wow, yeah. So how did you go from 0 to 4 years now? I mean, from 0 to complex government type projects. I mean, that's a big leap. I imagine you had some background and some experience, or folks on the team did, or I mean, how
So my background came from 20 years with a large national contractor, living in the space, mostly of higher education work. So those state government-led projects is what I've built my career on, and
natural transition to entrepreneurship and taking on that in a hopefully better way.
Absolutely. Wanting to do it in a different way that, have a little more control of it and really put the emphasis back on the people and the projects. And I think we had a unique start. I mean, we jumped in feet first, just with a $53 million project that right out of the gate that we got to manage. We had some really good kind of partnerships and strategy of how we were starting the company. And so started as a one-person company. First job was $53 million, and it forced us to become a company and not just a one-person show with a thought and an idea. And so having the bandwidth of a project like that to start really gave me the opportunity to build a team, to build processes, to take the knowledge and the experience that I had with large scale construction and be able to translate it immediately on my own and
Yeah.
go to that big extent. And so, while it was drinking from a fire hose, no doubt, for these first 3 years on big scale projects, it's been fantastic. It's been an
Yeah.
amazing way to start and to just jump into that experience.
So what has been the biggest difference between, working for a much larger established machine, maybe, maybe it was well-oiled or maybe it wasn't, hopefully we'll get to talk about that in a bit, but from taking that leap where you have all the infrastructure and at least resources and systems and processes, whether
Yeah,
they're good or not, I mean, you have something there, right? To
yeah.
all of a sudden a one person show and having to start from scratch, from that experience, what would you say the kind of was the aha or any surprises? I mean, you obviously had the experience to
Yeah.
do, but it's a different when you're just on your own, right?
It is. There's no departments to lean onto. Your computer has a glitch. I don't just
Yeah.
pick up the phone and call IT and have it fixed. It's like, well, now we're figuring out what that is. And I think it forced us to get scrappy from the start, right? We
Yeah.
had to figure out how could I get that support in ways that wasn't just an inter office call to somebody else
Yeah.
and with a process. And I work for some fantastic companies in my background, like it. So to have the experience of that and the knowledge of how it should run, I think gave me great insight to aligning ways of having that with our team. And we used a lot of consultants and still do of
Yeah.
where we're at for those maybe departmental roles for that and finding people that aligned to help us get through. Some of it may have been just temporary to just know that we just had to push through, the first project or what we were doing. And some are building lasting relationships of people that'll, stick around until we really get to a bigger scale of a company that we would start to in-house hire. But it is different, no doubt. It's
Yeah.
it still tries to keep the focus on the projects, and
Yeah.
being able to know why we're there and what we're building, and hope that we can find the other people to help support the basis when we get there.
How many people do you guys have on the team full time now? And yeah, how many partners are you leaning on? I mean, maybe subs aside. I mean, in
Y-
construction management, of course,
Sure.
everybody has lots of subs, but
Yeah.
any other, you mentioned some consultants. I mean, maybe you had an outsource, maybe you outsource your IT department, right? I mean, that would be a logical one to do at this size, maybe, but
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
many others. I mean, help me understand, yeah, what that makeup of that team is. And then I want to know who were your first hires and how did you make them? How
Yeah.
did you find
Well,
those
so
people?
those two questions really probably go hand in hand. I
Yeah,
mean, just from a current standpoint, we're at 6 full-time people right now and 4 part-time that
yeah,
make up our team. That start though was interesting, and while now we're at operations are really built on those 6 and those 4 from an operational standpoint, and then we have the consultants that are marketing, IT, some estimating, some things like that
okay,
are more consultant roles
yeah,
for that, accounting. Starting out, it was even the operations was scrappy of where we were getting. So it was, I was a one person company and got this fantastic opportunity that this job came about, had gone and bid it, got it, won it, awarded it, and it was notice to proceed, go start.
yeah,
And I had nobody else.
yeah,
And so the first, I won't even say hires. They were leased. I had a buddy at another firm that they had a little bit of a stall on some projects. This
yeah,
wasn't too crazy long after COVID, and they had some stalls, and they were looking for people that they didn't want to let go, and so they leased me a couple employees to start.
yeah,
And so for the first 3 months of the job, just to get started, I had a leased
mm,
superintendent. I had a leased senior project engineer, and they were great. They were, the right mentality to go help start off. And it just gave me enough bandwidth to get over that first hurdle.
yeah,
Nothing was too crazy out of the gate on the job. It was a little bit of a slow start. And it gave me that opportunity to then use a headhunter to find my first superintendent
yeah,
hire. And then it was knowing somebody, somebody knew somebody to get the other hires. And it became a word of mouth of, just building enough of a small team to go tackle that first project.
yeah, yeah. Well, I wanted to punctuate that. I expected a story something like that. I think, anybody who's starting out in a business, like, and I think even think about, my history 14 years ago, right? Like it was my like 22-year-old brother-in-law, I'm like,
Yeah,
here,
there you
do
go.
this work for me. And then actually, I leased, I borrowed my roommate from college. He was an engineer and he's a smart guy. And I mean, put him to work in my business, not doing any engineering work. He was just like, I don't
Help, right?
how we reconnected at that point in life. I mean, we're buddies. We connect, but like, I don't know. I went to him. I was like, I need some help. Like, and this is these projects I'm working on. I'm
Yep.
drowning on this. Can you think, and he was like, I'm interested. I'd love to help you out with that. And he was like driving up to my house from San Diego and,
Great.
like, working like 10 hours a week for me and, but that's right. You get kind of scrappy, but that you're going to lean into your trusted resources. So
Absolutely.
these companies that you borrowed talent from, I mean, you had a relationship. This was on kind of like you guys knew each other and this was sort of a mutual agreement and this sort of worked out really well for both parties then, huh?
Absolutely. I think that's the key to all this, right? And I'm sure we'll talk more is like
Yeah.
relationships,
Yeah.
right? So it's having that foundational trust relationship, wanting to help spirit. And I had a really great network of people,
Yeah.
both from subcontractor levels that were willing to take a bet on our company as we were new and forming and joined, to buddies at other companies that were willing to lend employees, key people that they didn't want to lose, but trusted them to come to
Yeah.
work for InSite and help start us out, and really felt like they were giving quality to us too, of people that could help from the
Yeah.
get-go, and not just the bottom of the barrel trying there, but like solid people that could really start and help me out. And
Yeah.
it made all the difference in the world of starting a company and, being able to get that first job knocked out.
Yeah. And the stats around employee referrals, are just phenomenal. I mean, 87% of people hired through a referral turn out to be
I
good to
believe it.
great. And it's because of those, those relationships. There's a trust, there's a mutual respect. You've been in the
Yep.
trenches oftentimes with these people, or if it's like these people you hired, did you know them or this
I
was
didn't
just,
know any of them.
you didn't know
Nope.
them. So
Nope.
it's your relationships
It's
that
trust
said,
both
no, these,
ways.
these two people are really good. They're going to take good care of you.
Yeah.
Right. And so you were able to take that referral on a
Yeah.
trust and they ended up doing good work for you and, got you to the
Absolutely.
next place. Right. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And that cost you nothing. And then I love how then you also hired a headhunter. And I mean, I don't know, did that work out? Is that hired going okay? Or what was that experience like?
That the person is no longer around today, but I will
Yeah.
tell you, it was great for what it was, right?
Yeah.
Got through enough of the bulk of that job, did
Yeah.
an excellent job while it was there. It was worth,
y-
it's hard being a new company and using a headhunter, right? They're not
Yeah.
cheap to go
Yeah.
there,
That was a big
but
check you wrote, I'm sure.
it's a little bit of desperation when you're in that, in that stance. And but again, that size job made those type of things feasible
Yeah.
for us to have the financial, bandwidth to go do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm generally an advocate of like avoid using headhunters at all costs.
Yeah.
Now again, I think though you just highlighted a scenario where like, look, if you
Whether they're,
need it, if you need it, and this is like you're in a pinch, there is a value in to defend all my headhunter friends out there, like, paying them that big fee. Hopefully nobody should cry about that because they just saved your ass, right?
yeah.
You know,
It's
uh,
not a long-term strategy to use
no,
forever, I don't think, but like certainly in those instances, there is significant value in the resources that they have, the people they know, and
yeah,
again, some trust. I mean, it was a relationship I had. It was actually a recruiter that had found me. I had made a minor
there you
move
go.
in my career at one point, and it was that same person that helped me make a move.
Yeah,
Then turned around and helped me find people as I was starting my
yeah.
own company.
Well, and that's good advice too. You find a good recruiter, stick with them because they're hard to
Absolutely.
come by, because they're it's such a noisy market out there
Yeah.
for staffing and recruiting professionals, and unfortunately, there's only small percentage that are really, really good at it, right? And have
Fair.
the
Yep.
kind of thing. So that's another thing. What I always tell people too is when you do got to hire a recruiter, you got to vet them just like you would an employee, right? Check their references, and interview them thoroughly to make
Yes.
sure that they know what they're doing in your sector or your area or whatever, right? Don't just hire them because they say they promise you the world, right? How many times they fell short or under
Absolutely.
delivered or delivered maybe the wrong person because they don't really know what they're doing, right?
Yes.
So I love to highlight that component as well. Um, So, okay. So you're off and running. You mentioned throughout your theme is there's this big kind of like communication process. This like you're touching on what I'll maybe point blank say the construction process. Building often is like very messy. Things don't get done on time. They're over budget.
Yeah.
Uh, it's all around people not coordinating and communicating effectively when it goes wrong or when it goes right. It's people who are really in sync, and getting people in sync, especially on a large project where you have
Yeah.
so many people involved. Um, how are you affecting that? What's your strategy there to get people, moving in unison and executing effectively to get things done on time, on under budget, and well?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one thing we did that I'm proud of doing and glad we made an investment to go do is even just this large job we knew we were going to be planted for a couple years, and making the investment as early as day one to go set the trailer compound up correctly. Right? I think it can be a detail that gets overlooked, but to
Yeah.
me adds so much value in creating a team atmosphere. I mean, we required that our subcontractors have on-site trailers for the major ones and
Yeah.
have, not just superintendents, but a project manager presence on the job, that was gonna be there, and so we took the time to arrange our trailers and build decking so that everybody stayed interconnected
Mm.
throughout the entirety of the job, and to me, there's just even something mental about, having to walk out your trailer and walk down those steps, metal steps, that's all you have, and you're walking to somebody else's and coming up and knocking on the door. Like there's a separation in that.
Yeah.
And so we built a large deck. We made sure there were picnic tables out there. We had a Blackstone. We created a little community amongst our subcontractors. Our owner had a trailer, and then our team and our conference trailers there, and made it a point that we were all at the same level. We were all accessible to walk out one door and walk into the next.
Yeah.
Sub to sub, owners, us. And I really do think it from the get-go made that atmosphere that we're gonna be in this together. We're all gonna communicate. We're gonna have it easy that we talk to each other and can enjoy each other too. I mean, even the picnic tables and
Yeah.
having those. And
Yeah.
I
If people are having lunch and the
yeah, I think you can get so
the
into a
guard
job
comes down a little bit,
quickly.
hopefully, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, and to focus on what can seem small or maybe even seems insignificant, I think change the course of the job, right? Set that tone early, and then you're backing it up with what you're doing every day on the job, right? Now you're
Yeah.
getting into the meat of the job, and I think our company and as I try to build the culture of who we are and why Insight is different, is really focused on that relationship aspect and that teamwork, and it's to me, it's not just with the project managers and the superintendents that you're dealing with, but the workers on site too. I mean, they're
Mm.
making or breaking the success of the job and what's happening every day. And I think it's a group that can get often taken for granted
Yeah.
that people just show up every day and they're going to work in the heat and they're going to work in the cold and in the bad conditions and and just do it because they get paid to do it. And showing that appreciation every day for what we're doing and having everybody on the site feel collectively part of the team, I think made a difference for us.
So how do you deal with that? I mean, is that how you're selecting your subcontractors? I mean, is this, you've worked with these people in the past and they do a good job of taking care of their people, or are you then also doing something extra to like, hey, we're going to make sure your people are taken care of, and I'm going to do something additional. We're going to,
Yeah.
we're going to bring a taco truck every day, and maybe not every job site does. I don't know what is it, right? How do you affect that beyond, yeah, is it just purely selection and hope that you got good subs, or is there more that you're doing there?
It was a little bit of both for us. So going into this particular job, this first one that kicked us off, I made a decision that rather than bidding and going after, we're going to go get 3 electrical prices and 3 mechanical
Yeah.
prices and just take low bids, right? And try to
Yeah.
get the cheapest number. We picked a team. I knew what subs from my background relationships that
Yeah.
I wanted to work with that did have that mentality that aligned with our values and how we would approach the project on a difficult project. And so we went to, one electrician, one concrete guy, one so on and so forth, and said, this is the team we're going to make or break with. They all knew they weren't competing against their peers for numbers. And it was, give our team the best number so we can be successful together.
Yeah.
And, I'm in a smaller part of the state. So it's a good old boy network. Everybody has to work together. You can't, there's not a million
They cross
resources.
paths on many projects, I
They
assume.
do. And the subs do too, regardless of where the CMs are at. The subs are crossing paths. So it became building the right team from the get-go, that I think we got the right players on and the right mentality, that even letting their guard down, that they didn't have to go compete led with that. And then being successful with the right players on the team, then it was now on to our team to go help with the people in the field. And, I kind of put it out as a challenge to our team of, how do we go walk the talk and go show that appreciation out there? And, our folks led the challenge. I mean, we did the thing, we did the barbecue lunches, right? Those are nice and they're ever occasionally, but we would do, hot summer days, we'd bring a snow cone machine out and just have snow cones, every Friday through the summer and, treat them that way. We would do the electrolyte pops and hot days in the field. And then it was, okay, well, now it's getting cold. Is there something we can do, opposite of that in the cold season? And, I mean, these may sound like cheesy things to go do, but, our team wanted to go then bring hot chocolate outside, right, on cold days. And I do think that that's valuable time spent, right? And some people may look at it and think, oh my God, how you're bringing hot chocolate on construction sites, right? Like people value it though.
I like hot chocolate,
It's the gesture too, right? It's the gesture of we care enough that is an important part of our day to go show appreciation for, while I'm sitting in my hot office, warm and snuggly in the winter, and these, workers are out there in 15 degrees working in ditches in the ground, right? Freezing all day long, that it's a gesture that we appreciate. And we try to make small moments to go show that what they do matters, what they do affects the outcome of the success of the job, and that it's not just overlooked and taken for granted.
Yeah. 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 All that goes a long way. So did that project, is it completed at this point or?
Yeah, we actually just wrapped up, just pulled off finally, last week sometime.
Nice.
So it was,
Awesome.
it ended up, 2-year job turned into 3 years. We were doing so great that they kept pushing more things in our court, and one of the best jobs I ever worked on. It was great teamwork.
And did it hit your expectations in terms of profitability and customers' expectations and timelines and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, really not to just say, exceeded. I mean, it was for being a first job for us out of the gate. I mean, financially, it was great. I think reputationally, it helped build. And we had an owner in a really tough state client that was over the moon with what we did. And I think taking the approach that we weren't going to, fight over change orders, and we were going to try to help understand some of their hardships with, working for the state is not easy, right? It's slow, it's bureaucratic, changes don't move fast. And we found trusting ways to continue to pace with the job on changes at risk on some. And we were willing to show that we were open to going at risk on some things to keep the job moving if they kept their end of the bargain, and, would come through with approvals in due time. And they did on everything they ever committed to from an owner standpoint. They hit on. It wasn't always the fastest. But I think they appreciated that we didn't push the stop button every time something took a while to get moving forward, and that we were willing to work with them within the confines of what could be controlled, and keep the job moving so that we could all finish on time and deliver as we committed.
Yeah. So despite making some extra investments and not putting it out to bid and doing all these other things, you were still able to have a very successful project. And at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's always sleepless nights on a project in terms of like, oh my God, there's some crisis or problem, right? But, I mean, I wonder if you surveyed and polled all the people involved, like where their cortisol levels were, I mean, that goes a long ways, right? If everybody's like, man, I slept pretty good and didn't have a lot of anxiety, and there wasn't a lot of fights, right? I mean, that goes along, and everything was successful and everybody won at the end. They got what they needed out of the project, right?
And it doesn't mean that that we didn't have our challenges, right? I mean, we certainly did. On plenty of days, we had some arguments. Everybody's going to, but I think at the end of the day, when you have those relationships with people, that the arguments are going to come as part of the business, right? It's the
Yeah.
industry we're in. It's going to happen. But if you can do it, if you can still argue respectfully
Yeah.
and know that, you know, people have other interests too, and kind of respect the perspective that everybody's coming from while you're having those. Somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose. If we can find a way to meet in the middle where it's not, so one-sided or so consistently that, as the CM that we have to win every single time in every single
Yeah.
argument, I
Yeah.
think we positioned ourselves to not do that. And so while there were challenges to work through, while there were certainly some, hits that some people probably took in aspects of the job, I think overall that it would be remembered by all our subs. I want to believe that it was a good job overall. It certainly could have been a whole lot worse than what it was,
Sure. Yeah.
given
Yeah.
the type of project we were on and the challenges that we had ahead of us.
And all these
So,
projects have these
yeah,
issues. So again, it's, the measurement is not as like, hey, are we going to have a challenge? It's, how do we feel? And
correct.
again, if the numbers, math out and hey, we're profitable at, hitting our profit expectations or revenue expectations, and the customer's happy and the owner's happy.
Yeah,
And hopefully the subs are as well. They're like, hey, this still hit our margins where we wanted to be, and we were successful, and,
absolutely.
be able to move on to our next project on time as well. I mean, delays also, that can be costly and holding people back from doing other kinds of work as well.
Absolutely.
Right. So there's all these kind of like soft costs that, if you're not paying attention to,
Add up.
add up. And, so at the end of the day, if you're looking at the tally and it all added up, then whether somebody won or lost this battle or didn't get margin on this little thing, like, doesn't really matter. Right.
It's the big picture. Yeah.
Because that's happening all the time anyways, right? So yeah, the big picture is
Yeah.
the end, and how we feel at the end, I think, right? So that's amazing. Melissa, how can folks get in touch with you?
Yeah, so both from a company standpoint, our website is insight-build.com. And then I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. So just searching for Melissa Drew with InSite Build. You can find a lot of stuff there and get updates on projects and the topics I'm passionate about.
Great. Well, we'll make sure all that's in the show notes. So if anybody wants to reach out or connect, or they've got a project in Maryland that they want
Fantastic.
help with, and then I think that's great. So thank
Love
you for your time today.
Thanks, Fletcher. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening to our People First Builders podcast. If you're a successful construction CEO and would like to tell your story on this program, please visit our podcast homepage, FletcherWimbush.com/peoplefirstbuilders, or check it out in the notes below. If you got something out of this interview and would like to share the episode on the socials, we always appreciate that. Just take a quick screenshot with your phone, text it to a friend, or post it to the socials. If you know someone who might be a great guest, tag them on social and let them know. And don't forget, #PeopleFirstBuilders. I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions. We're regularly putting out new content. To make sure that you don't miss out on any episodes, go ahead and hit subscribe on your favorite podcast channel. Your thumbs up and ratings and reviews go a long way to help promote the show and mean a lot to me and my team. Want to know more? Go to our website, FletcherWimbush.com, or follow me on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.